right now we have a good friend of ours, and that is our Councilman, Eric Ulrich. Eric, how are you, sir?
Ed, it's a pleasure to be with you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. How have you been? How are things going now? You've entered, I guess, now. Is this considered kind of like the second phase of the campaign now for you? I mean, I'm always curious about that because you didn't really have a primary opponent, did you?
I did not. I ran unopposed in the primary, but I will be on the ballot this November in the general election. So
this is kind of like the second. This enters the second phase now. Between now and November, you'll be campaigning. We were down at you're opening your campaign office, and that's nice. And what's it like? I've always been curious about that. I mean, to me, it's almost like, you know, especially when now you're going to be you've been in office now a number of years. How different is it going to be for you campaigning now that you've been in office than it was originally when you started?
Well, you know, Ed, I have had the privilege of serving many of the people of Woodhaven for the past 4.5 years and representing that community in the city council, and now I'm running for reelection, as you said. And it's certainly not easier. You asked what it's like. It's like being in a pressure cooker. You know, you have your family obligations, you have your own things going on in your life, and then you kind of have to put everything on hold to make yourself as visible and accessible as possible so that people realize that you're running for re-election. I run into people all the time on Jamaica Avenue, and they're surprised to hear that I have to run again. You know, they said, it's been 4 years already, and I tell them yes, and they say, wow, time flies, and you know, it's been great. I've loved every minute of it. Now I have the chance to represent more of Woodhaven, thanks to redistricting. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that we can make a difference. And I have a lot of good ideas, and I'll be looking forward to talking about those ideas, not only at your meetings, but at other forums in the community.
That's great. That's great to hear, and you know, we look forward to hearing what you have to say. And listen, you know, again, it's difficult going out there. It's almost like singing for your supper. You know what I mean? But I think. Listen, I think you've done a good job, and I wish you all the best.
You know, I do the best that I can. I'm honest with people. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. But they have a right to expect that I'm going to be straight with them and that I'm not going to lead them along or make promises that I can't keep. And that's really what I'm, you know, the most proud of, is that we've run a very effective office. We've done a great job with constituent services. We've delivered millions of dollars back to the district to improve parks and playgrounds and libraries and put new technology in schools. I'm happy to say that in this year's budget we'll be updating the classroom technology in every school in Woodhaven, at PS 97, at PS 60, at the schools on the board of Woodhaven and Richmond Hill, PS 316, for instance. So we'll be getting some new classroom technology in all the schools. We're really proud of that. That's very hard to campaign on because that's what I'm supposed to do, but I'm happy to do it. And if people think that I've done a god-awful job and they hate me and they hate everything I have to say, then I'm going to vote for the other guy. I can't convince those people. But if they think that I've been honest with them, that I've been working hard on their behalf, then they're going to vote for me. And, you know, I think that most of the people in Woodhaven, like many of my constituents, they vote for the person who they think is going to do the best job. They don't necessarily vote the party line. They vote for the person who they think is going to do a good job. So sometimes they vote for the Democrat, sometimes they vote for the Republican. I think that they vote for the person and not necessarily the party. And, you know, I went to vote this Tuesday. I don't know if you got a chance to make it to the polls. I was interested in seeing the old voting machines. It was kind of like going to the museum, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you don't expect to see them anymore, and here they are. They kind of pop up like a big noisy friend, you know.
Yeah, it's like Barbra Streisand. It just won't go away. You know, they keep saying that it's the last hurrah, and then here they come again. Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny. But I have to tell you that the Board of Elections, I thought, did a decent job this year in facilitating the primary. I didn't experience any long lines. I didn't hear about any mechanical breakdowns. And I think the turnout was indicative of the interest that people are showing in the future of our city. And that's very important. It's not only for the local races like me in the city council, but for mayor and controller and public advocate. Democrats and Republicans came out in very large numbers to show and to make a statement about what type of city that they want to live in. And I hope that will carry on into November.
Yeah, what you say is true, and there's so many different issues that are bouncing around amongst. But now that we're getting, we don't really know that we're down to a final. We might still get a runoff in our race for mayor. But it seems like some of these issues now are going to be getting a good public airing between some candidates that have some very, very different views.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the candidates that are left standing, not only for mayor, but also as we move into the general, will start talking about their ideas and their vision for our city rather than talking about each other. And I think that the voters are really hungry for that. That's why you didn't see, Elliot Spitzer, Anthony Weiner, or some of the other more controversial candidates do better in the polls, is because I think that people were less concerned with the personalities and the dysfunctional issues, and they really wanted to talk about the real issues that are facing the city, whether that be education or public safety or improving transportation. I mean, these are the issues that people really care about in Woodhaven and all across the 5 boroughs. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that as the candidates make their case and they press the flesh and they campaign in Queens, that when they come to our community and they ask for our vote and our support, that they really talk about the issues that are important to the residents of Woodhaven and, again, to the residents of other parts of Queens, too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which way they go. So, in speaking, you get probably a different. You're going to get a little bit of a different perspective than I am on this. What are the major issues that you're getting from residents in Woodhaven coming into your office? I don't want to just say complaining about, but bringing to your attention, trying to get you to address. What are the top issues?
I would say the number one issue that we've been dealing with in a very proactive way has been public safety. I think in the wake of the terrible sex crime that took place in Forest Park, and also in some of the quality of life concerns that have been raised at your meetings, and of course I heard our Assemblyman talking about the installation of security cameras. I'll remind you and your listeners that I also funded a camera that will be going up on Jamaica Avenue and 75th Street, an Argus NYPD camera. That will happen very soon, by the way. That at the forefront of people's minds in Woodhaven is can we continue to fight crime, to keep crime low, and can we continue to make sure that Woodhaven is going to be a safe community for everyone, not just for senior citizens and others, but for young children on their way home from school, from working men and women on their way home from work on the J train. Are people going to feel safe? Are they going to have a sense of security? And I think that is really, at the top of everybody's list. I mean, that's not to take away from other issues. There are other concerns that people have. But for Woodhaven residents right now, they want to live in a safe community because they've lived in a safe community, and they don't want to go back to the days of waking up in the morning and not knowing if their car was going to be outside, of worrying about their kids coming home from school if they're going to be jumped or mugged or, God forbid, get involved with a gang, making sure that if they go jogging in the park like you, that they're going to come back in one piece. I mean, this is really the issue that beckons the attention of the elected officials and anybody who is aspiring to public office. That are we going to support the police? Are we going to give them the tools that they need to fight crime, to solve crimes, to keep crime low? Whether that be increased surveillance, like the Assemblyman and I are supporting, or stop and frisk measures, very controversial, but I think very important in fighting gun violence. Are we going to support the cops? Are we going to hire more cops? I've been saying for 2 years that on this show, in the Chronicle, and anybody else, and to anybody else that wants to listen, we need more police on the street. If we want to fight crime, we need more of a police presence. And the only way we're going to do that is if we're able to hire more cops. And right now, I don't believe that the city of New York has enough police on patrol right now. I really don't. And I think we're starting to see that, unfortunately. So the next mayor who's coming in and the city council members who will be reelected or elected for the first time, they really got to get their priorities straight. We need more cops on the street. We need more cops on the subways, by the way, and the transit police and the transit district, because the crime is spilling out from the subways and onto the subways, and it's not enough to put a cop on foot patrol walking up and down Jamaica Avenue. We need them in patrol cars driving around the community as a deterrent. And we also need them on the subway platforms, on the J-train platform, so that people who want to commit crimes or are thinking of committing crimes will think twice about doing it or go someplace else and do it, because we can't tolerate it in Woodhaven and we can't tolerate it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, and that's that's something we've been talking up recently, resurrecting an old pitch. An idea going back to the early 70s. Our Assemblyman Frederick D. Schmidt, who was pushing for Forest Park to have its own precinct. Our feeling
I'd like to see Forest Park have mounted police again, and I've even offered funding to the Parks Department to build a stable that we can use. I mean, this is a very serious concern here. Whether we're talking about Parks Enforcement Police or NYPD or Transit Police, we need more cops on the beat, on the street, in the subway, in the park, to make sure that not only we can keep the community safe, but that the people who live in Woodhaven actually feel safe. If they don't see a cop car, if they don't see a mounted police officer, if they're in the middle of the park, jogging in the middle of the day, and they hear about all these terrible crimes that are taking place, they're not going to go there anymore. And we can't allow that false sense of security to set in. We have to make sure that people feel safe. And that is worth more than anything, I think. Because if people don't feel safe, they're going to put the for sale sign in the front of the house, and the middle class and the tax base, which make up the bulk of Woodhaven, they're going to leave. They're going to go to Long Island. They're going to move to New Jersey. They're going to move in with their relatives and say, I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to see that happen.
No. Excellent. Very good. All right. Well, listen, Eric, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Now, before I go, on a lighter note, of course, I have to get the last word here. I'm putting in a plug for Manor Deli. I had the tuna salad there on Wednesday for lunch. It was delicious. It's pretty affordable. There's always a lot of good food there. I know people probably, have the brisket as a favorite, but the tuna salad is just as good. And any chance I can to support the small business owners on Jamaica Avenue, I really try to do that, because they are the heart and soul of the community. They're the anchor of the community. That's why I'm glad you're honoring one of them at the dinner dance, and I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope that many of your listeners are going to attend, because it's always a great event.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed. Have a good night.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
That's Eric Ulrich, our city councilman. And, we're really, really fortunate here in Woodhaven. You look at what's going on around us in New York City, with what's been happening with our elected officials. You look at some of the people that were running for mayor and for controller, and some of the issues they had. You look at some of the issues some people had around the city over the past year with corruption, and heck, they were some of these folks were patting each other down for wires. Before getting together and talk. Then, that's when some of them were in favor of stop and frisk, when they were stopping and frisking each other for wires. And you see all this nonsense going on, and you look at the folks that we have representing us, the folks that we elected, in Mike Miller and Eric Ulrich, Joe Adabo, Elizabeth Crowley. And you have to say we're very, very, very fortunate, very, very lucky, and the good people, and we work very well with all of them. So very, very happy, and thanks to Mike and Eric for calling in and speaking to us tonight. Moving on, we've got a caller